Welcome to another Stay Woke podcast presented by thesonicbreakdown.com. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for following. This is D-Ray Brinson. And we got your boy ready in the studio again.
Thank you for having me once again.
So I believe this is your third time in the Stay Woke podcast dome, you know?
Man, y'all know, man. Y'all got me addicted now. Got me on one. I have to come back and keep it going.
Appreciate that. So, if he's here, you know what conversation this is going to be. Let's be real. It's either going to be some sort of comic book or some sort of comic book movie. And we all know what just recently came out, Xmen Apocalypse.
Yup.
So excited.
Man, like I was having this conversation not too long ago with my brother, man. I'm a little happy and disappointed all at the same time with this movie. Like I can't say I'll give it a better review than I would of Batman vs Superman, but not much better. And I have to say that.
Whoa!
No, hold up. The
Whoa,
reason why.
Hold on. Run it back. Are you giving it that low of an expectation, or that low of a review, or low of a score, because your expectations weren't met, or was because, like, if you take your expectations out of the equation, would you still rank it as low, or would it just be as low
It wouldn't be as low.
Okay.
It wouldn't be as low, but
because my thing with Batman versus Superman, take my expectations in or out, it still wasn't a good movie.
I agree.
I feel, my opinion on Apocalypse, I think it was a good movie, but it did not match or meet my expectations.
I agree with that, but like, there's also a lot of fallacies when you see the movie. So like, if we can start from the beginning. When we actually look at it.
Hold on. Spoiler alert. I have to preface that because I do get comments all the time from people saying you ruined the movie. So again, watch the movie, then listen to the podcast if you don't want to be spoiled. If you don't care, listen to the podcast, then watch the movie. Either way it goes, you should listen to the podcast. So go ahead, continue.
So look, when we look at the beginning of the movie opens up pretty nicely. You know, we go back to ancient Egypt. There's Apocalypse in his temple. He's talking about, like, I need to switch bodies to this dude that has, like Wolverine's basic healing ability. Because, even gods need to upgrade. So it was looking cool, showing the Four Horsemen, even though they didn't say who or what the Four Horsemen was, but I'll forgive that. And then, it goes down, temple gets destroyed, he gets locked away, shows the love of his patrons. And
they reference the Four Horsemen later to explain
him then
that scene.
The Bible didn't come up with it. He the Bible got it from him. The part I don't like is, since this movie is titled Apocalypse, we really know nothing about his history from that point on. I think if they really wanted to make him a staple, which is why I think what they did at the end, they would have gave understanding of how he was the first mutant. When we saw the original glimpse of Apocalypse way back in the day, and what movie was that? Like the third one or whatever?
Days of Future Past.
Like, I thought we were really going to get to start there, showing him build his kingdom, showing why Apocalypse was that dude. They didn't really give the reference besides the fact that he had hella powers, but they didn't establish his political background, why he thought mutants were above everybody else and humans were inferior. They didn't create enough of a bond where, when they did the crap at the end, which we'll talk about, it wasn't so significant. They didn't make him a character that wanted to be in the universe. It almost felt like from the beginning, you almost knew without a doubt that they were gonna have to kill them all, because they didn't put that energy. The part that I agree that I talked to my brother with that I thought was really good was they made everybody else that you knew who was gonna live into that universe with a rich background and a rich understanding. They went to each character, Psylocke, Magneto, Angel, and gave them why they needed to have this godlike figure, imbue them with power to make them powerful, but not him.
I think they didn't. I think they did that on purpose, and they did that on the purpose of making him mysterious. Where that when you do bring him into the next movie, because even though this movie is called Xmen Apocalypse, X-Men's first. It's not Apocalypse X-Men. You know what I'm saying? Like, X-Men is the focal front, the staple of the movie. Those are the ones that the movie is about. Apocalypse is just a carry along, side along, which to be as malevolent and as almost omnipotent as he is, I do agree with you to a certain degree that they didn't expound upon his powers, or the vast majority of his powers. They didn't touch on it as much as I would like them to, but I'm holding on to the belief that they will touch on that in the subsequent movies to follow.
But see, then that gets me to worry because they did a all ultimate ender. So if you haven't seen the movie, I'm about to tell you the end of the movie right now. So
it is what it is.
They did that all ultimate ender. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the showcase of Jean Grey Phoenix connection. The first time they showed the beautiful Phoenix bird. But
I was a little taken back by that. I just want to interject that I wanted them to save that moment for another movie. Like, because to me, it did take away from Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was one of the aspects that I was like, you could have held back on that point. It's like when it's like a painter and they have the perfect picture, and they just put that one last brushstroke, and you're like, if you didn't do that, it would have been a masterpiece. Now it's just okay.
Yep. But not even just that. Like, I agree with you. They took away from Apocalypse, but they disintegrated the man. Like, like if we're gonna bring him back and we say, he has Wolverine's power, he can heal from that. But like, they incinerated all of his ashes, his remains, everything about him. He doesn't have clones that we know of. And like, come on now. Like, they ended him, and they do that, and that's one of the problems I have with these movies. But he did have control
over matter.
So they can always find a way, which they do.
He had the ability to bring his matter back together because we know it's not created or destroyed. That energy is still there.
But see, then that makes the whole showcase of the Phoenix pointless. Because
that's why I had a problem with it.
It makes it even worse because everything about it doesn't match. They could have did like with that in the beginning. I kind of figured that because throughout the whole movie, we see they're trying to showcase that not only is Jean Grey can't control her powers, but there's a deeper part of her powers. From the first time they had the dream, if you remember, when she was shaking her house during the whole time Apocalypse came out, she had the vision of his future.
Yeah, the destruction of the world.
Destruction of the world. And she was burning the walls with her psychic abilities, basically.
Mm-hmm. Which was prefacing her Phoenix abilities, yeah.
So I already knew they were going to do the Phoenix.
Or foreshadowing, rather.
But how they did it kind of pissed me off because I think the better way they could have showcased her full Phoenix power without, full flames and everything is when there's a part where Professor Xavier is on the ground. Having a psychic battle
in the astral plane. I believe that's supposed to be
correct.
Their visualization of the astral plane.
And like he's sitting there like sobbing, and he's clearly in pain, and like they keep doing the back and forth, her face, his face, her face, his face. Where for a cool minute, like, okay, she's gonna help. Why the hell is this taking so long?
Yeah.
So that took away.
I felt that way too.
It was annoying as hell.
Yeah.
Right? You really like, come on, do something. He even had to beg the actor to help. I feel that's a writing flaw right there. And then the writing flaw where I figured they wanted to show her being the hero, but they couldn't figure out how to do it. The better way to me is her joining him in just the astral plane, not both planes, just the astral plane, and maybe make everything be on fire. Not showing the Phoenix form, not showing just that she helped him fight, and showcase the Phoenix without making it taken away from Apocalypse.
I would have liked some similar to that aspect, which made me get the idea when you were talking about it just now, is in that same scene, in essence, putting him in a psychic cell, and that's how they defeat him.
Which is how they've done before, where
And so then it buys you time because he's not going to be able to stay in that cell forever.
Yeah.
And we know that just because he has the power, so that. At that point, you would have the ability to say you can bring him back at any point in any movie at any time by saying he escaped somehow, whatever, because he has he has the ability to manifest more powers.
Yep.
And so how he come in contact with somebody and he got more powers, or he just manifested his own powers even stronger, or he had the ability to just who knows? But there's a plethora of possibilities that they could have existed. He still exists, and you still have the ability to highlight the Phoenix later.
But see, I love yours because then they would have had more potential to introduce some bad guys that were on par. Like, I literally just forgot Nightshade, I believe his name is, or I'm literally drawing a blank right now. So to all you fans, I apologize. But Professor Xavier's mortal enemy, the other guy that was around the same time as Storm, used to control Storm. I just can't remember his name right now. Where they already introduced Storm at that time. If they would have showed him, because he was the original peddler, he was a psychic that controlled her. So like with your whole thing about the prison, if they would have showed him, they could have like even walking through the bazaar, which they may have, and I could have missed it. That would have been an instant Apocalypse #2 where he releases him from the astral plane and they fight again, and it would have been a great caveat to previous movies.
I do think that Sophia Turner, who played Jean Grey, did a very good job playing Jean Grey,
Shadow King. Shadow King.
taking over the mantle for Jean Grey. I think she did a very good job, and we all know her as Sansa from Game of Thrones. Because if you don't know, the SonicBreakdown.com, the Stable Podcast, are Game of Thrones. We like Game of Thrones too. So, but I'm gonna be real. I really don't fuck with Sansa. I like her now in this season. She's the best. But I digress. Back to X-Men. I think she did a good job as Jean Grey. I think they did a really good job of the cast of blending some of the old cast with the new cast. I do want to touch on the introduction of some of the new characters,
right?
As well as the reintroduction of some of the old characters. I really enjoyed Storm. I liked her story. I liked how they introduced her. I like how they set up the relationship between her and Apocalypse, because it made sense. That he manipulated her based on her her idolizing Mystique in essence. Mm-hmm. I do like that aspect, because that is something that is Storm-esque. That would be something that I can see Storm doing, because at the end of the day, she was powerful and she did walk on that line of between good and bad, but she always wanted to do well. It was always with good intentions.
And then I love that they kept it with kind of her original who Storm was. Because a lot of times, they'll change the background of a character and then it's not even close. But they kept her as a street urchin, where she had to steal and use her powers to make a living. And that's why I love that. That's one part I did love, how they showed Apocalypse connection and love for mutants to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. Because even though he loved you, once he found you useless, you were no longer part of him. Kind of like when we saw it again close to the end of the movie, when you failed him. You were thrown away like a desperate, like, who cares? Like,
like he basically did with Archangel.
Archangel, you ain't nothing. Like, how did you lose? I gave you this new and overwhelming power. And well, speaking of that, one thing I did love about him is that they kind of changed who he was a little bit. Where the original Angel was this pretty boy.
Yeah, they made him a little more dark and more
grungy,
more grungy, more on edge than I ever remember Archangel ever being. The most edge that he had was the edge against his father. Mm-hmm. So
that element
I did like that element, but again, to me, even then and still now, I thought he was a cool looking character, but he was weak.
He was a waste. How they made him was almost a waste, because Angel himself and Archangel, whatever way you want to see him, he's not that powerful, but he's integral to Apocalypse. Apocalypse always had him as Death as a horseman because of the bladed wings. But the part that disappointed me, because even without his limited abilities, you can make him hella throw. There's a part at the end where the Four Horsemen versus the X-Men, which is like building up the 99% of the whole movie, where you thought it was gonna be this epic drag down brawl to save the world or destroy it, and it wasn't. And it wasn't even where it was like, oh yeah, that was cool. It was like, that's it.
Yeah, I wanna touch on that a little bit later though. Okay. We'll save that for a little bit later towards the end. But what I do want to get into is similar to because one of the things that we talked about in Civil War, and that we talked about in Superman versus Batman, that I want to make sure we touch on every one, so that we stay consistent, is on the fact of, does the universe or the world that the movies are creating based on the precedents of other movies is still viable and real? Do you feel like the world that they created in this movie is real based on what they said prior. Because we felt that in Civil War. Like everything either was, present. It made sense based on prior movies. Batman versus Superman, not so much. This one, I feel like they did a very good job of doing that, and they've been continue to do a good job because I watched, we watched Days of Thunder. I'm sorry, Days of Thunder.
Future Past.
Oh my gosh, ooh, Sylvester Stallone must be talking about me. Days of Future Past. Thank you for X-Men: Days of Future Past, and that reminded me of how well they connect those other movies and how well they're trying to make sure that they connect these movies. I felt like they did a good job. One of the aspects that I feel they didn't capture as well was in the school scene. Is with Rogue and Hank. They capture that,
Rogue?
but I mean not Rogue. I'm sorry, Mystique.
Okay.
And Hank.
Okay.
That scene, as much feelings as Hank has for her, and how much she understands that and has a resonance of being there because she knows that. I don't feel like they captured that as well as it could have been.
Okay. Okay, but I mean, okay.
And they never explained because when they left the last movie, it was the other Jean Grey and Scott as adults.
Yeah.
They you know what I'm saying? So like I understand that I get we're back in time, somewhat, but if we're back in time, that means at that point they already beat Apocalypse. And that means Archangel, like there's something that's not right about those connections. Yeah, there's something in there that's missing, or that wasn't. That there's an inconsistency in that portion.
Or it could be that it's waiting for Wolverine, because one thing that's showing in Wolverine, if you think about it now, again I'm gonna go kind of a little bit more.
Because they were further behind because he escaped.
Yeah, and remember the whole future past timeline is technically the same time frame as that future apocalyptic time period. So, which is why this is why I said that Apocalypse, I do give it better than Batman and Superman, because, like you said, everything in this universe is fluid. It brought references from every movie, even the movies that got rewritten through the time change and shit. Like, they brought things in there that's like, okay, like my girl didn't see, she went me to see the movie and she didn't understand one thing because she missed that one movie. And that's what I loved about it, where it showed everything. It's a story. It's one consistent story that keeps on having different chapters.
I agree. I still feel that the Avengers are getting it better than X-Men.
Hold on. The reason why I think it's different is because I think we kind of talked about this soon about Hugh Jackman being the Wolverine character. We know that he loves doing it just because it's probably an awesome gig, but he doesn't want to get typecast. This is not what he wants to do for the rest of his life. He doesn't always be known as Wolverine. He wants to be known as Hugh Jackman. And Hugh Jackman himself has said he's only doing 1 or 2 more movies. Now, if we include that with the movie that just happened, Apocalypse, that's 1. And then we say 1.
Well, that's not even considered 1 because that was a cameo. That's not a full movie. But he's counting that.
He counts that in all of his movies because he says he's been in there like 10 times, but a lot of times
he's been doing it for 14 years.
Exactly. So I think with the Wolverine movie and with Apocalypse, they show they're killing off Wolverine probably at the end of Wolverine 3. And they're bringing X-23 because we've already seen that with Sinister. Yeah. And then instead of having Wolverine train the X-Men, they're going to have Mystique. They've already shown Mystique in the Danger Room, the first time we've ever seen the Danger Room, teaching them how to fight. So I think that they're going with that different timeline because they know, like, Hugh Jackman's getting to that point where he's done.
I agree. I mean, to me, that's fine, but they need to explain. They never explained at how we got to, because, like I'm saying, if you go from every single Thor, Iron Man, it's all chronological. There's no distinction, which I'm not saying is I'm not saying is better or worse, because I do like the fact that they did show that they're including time travel and they're including changing in realities of time in different universes. I like that aspect of what X-Men is doing. But if you're gonna do it, you have to explain every single. Not every single variation, but whenever you, like in this movie, they should have established which timeline we're in.
But come on, let's be honest. We remember watching the old X-Men cartoons and even reading the old X-Men comic books. The timelines are convoluted and confusing as hell, no matter what.
No,
because I feel like it stays into that realm of confuse the shit out of you.
But this is your ability to change what like in the comic books. Yeah, you're bound by parameters. You have to come up with a new comic book every month, every week, whatever your timeline is. So that does give you a restraints on what we can parse out, because with the movies you're determining the timeline.
I agree.
So if it takes you 5 years to figure out how to make this make sense, you take that time. You take that 5 years. But you try to get it done within a time range that satisfies your fans. I get that.
One thing I think you're missing out on.
But I feel like that they could have established. They could have easily set the time, the framework of the time frame of saying of referencing even the last one and saying with Xavier saying to Wolverine, "Let me explain what happened," and then as he's explaining what happens, he goes into this part.
I still think the part that you're missing. Yeah, I agree with you, but I still think the part that you're missing is there. When we think about the Avengers, if we're trying to really compare the Avengers to X-Men, the Avengers, we're going with individual characters. Iron Man in all his movies.
Yeah, they're going.
Thor in all his movies.
X-Men is always a team.
It's a team, and then even when we have our individual standalone movies, they still have to connect. So if we think about right now, just in the Marvel Universe, the things that have standalone. We know Wolverine, new movie coming out in about a year and a half. We know they tried to do a Gambit. Some things happened. They're still thinking about doing a Gambit. We know they're thinking about doing a Mystique movie. We're waiting on that, as well as we have to.
Wolverine's the only standalone movie so far.
Disagree.
Deadpool's not an X-Men.
But he does join the X-Men at times.
No, and he doesn't join the X-Men. He helps.
He works with them, and then
he's still not an X. He doesn't consider himself an X-Men, though.
Of course, he's not. He's
so that's what I'm saying. So it's not a standalone.
Also, think about a whole different. The end of the act that when they brought Cable, which is a direct person in the X-Men universe. We already had 2 movies that talked about time travel. So I think that next Deadpool movie is either going to be real X-Men rich, or it's going to have Deadpool making a cameo in an X-Men movie.
But that still doesn't explain my fact of that they should have explained what timeline that they're in.
But that again goes back to the point why I don't give it a high rating, because it does miss, and I agreed with you.
But my point is that they could have. Yeah. I just thought about this right now after drinking. So you telling me that these motherfuckers that had months and months to figure it out, if you reference the last scene in the last movie, when Professor X says, we have a lot of talking to do, basically we have to catch up on history, because my history, Wolverine's history is different than your history. And he goes, well, this is what happened.
They could have said that.
And then he said, well, we found out, or some way segued him to retelling the history about what happened with Apocalypse. So and then they cut into that scene.
You would have kind of like right after that, when they did that extra scene with Mystique talking about training them, have maybe Hugh Jackman come into the room and give that little boom, 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 so it had that direct connection.
No, I'm talking about in the very beginning.
Oh, in the very, very
in the very beginning, they reference the last scene of the last movie that they produced.
Yeah, okay.
And so they show Wolverine walking into the Professor X, and he's saying, "Teach you got to go teach history." And he's like, "Well, you got to tell me history because my history is different." And then that part, Professor X goes,
"Start the movie."
He's like,
that would be
dope beginning. Well, I have a lot to tell you, and it begins in 17 BCE. And then boom, that cuts to that scene. So you go, oh, this is all the shit Wolverine missed. And so when he gets escaped from Alkali Lake at this point,
so he knows that.
And then at that point, they could have had a quick flashback of back to the scene with Wolverine and Professor X, and him having the flashback of that moment and saying, that's who they are.
That's beautiful.
And then go back and finish the movie off as it is.
That's beautiful.
That could have connected everything, and so you understand the timeline.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I love that. If they would have did that, that would have answered and changed my rating for a lot more things, because, like I said, they're missing a lot of parts, and that would have been that part. But okay, like I've been knocking on it. You know, I've been saying I'm not gonna lie. But let me talk about some of the positives.
Yeah, cool? let's go with the positives. Go ahead.
Graphics were amazing.
Mm-hmm. I was like, damn, son. Damn, crickets playing in the background.
No, but
I would say my positives was Storm.
Yep.
Psylocke, bro. They need to make a standalone movie of Psylocke, because And Rogers, I'm not disrespecting your boo boo, but she bad.
You can get it any
She
day.
is bad.
And they kept her
And she
powers
did.
consistent.
Yeah, they
Like-
kept her powers consistent, and boy, was she sexy as Psylocke, man.
Woo! The minute we
Ooh.
saw her, I was like,
Olivia Munn. If you don't know, it's
when she
Olivia
get in her
Munn.
costume?
Let's get it correct.
I was like, when she get in that costume? The minute I first saw, I was like, oh.
And
when
they
she
kept
got into it, I was like, ooh.
the costume was down to a T
Sexy.
of what Psylocke's costume was in the comic book. Her powers,
Even her blade looked the same
Yeah.
from the comic books, which I thought they were gonna do some fake, like she was holding a blade, but then no, they showed that it was just pure energy,
Yeah.
which was fucking amazing.
and how they showed the amplification of it with
when
Apocalypse.
comes, showing his So speaking of that tuner thing, one of the parts that I thought was really a good showcase of who Apocalypse was. Well, two times. First time was when Professor Xavier's looking out, trying to find Magneto because he sees that he hurt and he connects him. He sees he's hurt and he's like, "Oh, bro, I'm so sorry." Da 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 da. And Eric gives you that look, and then he kind of looks towards Apocalypse, and then Apocalypse goes through Eric's mind to get Professor, and he showed that he may not be able to control you, but he can use anything you have. Where at that first time he overflooded Professor Xavier's mind to use his mind to control everything else.
Cerebro.
Yeah, and then he disarmed him. And I will say the part that tripped me out, because I thought he was gonna really try to rein them all back down, and then Professor X was gonna like just stop him. I liked how he showed like, you know what? No, I'm gonna disarm y'all and then destroy everything anyway. I wanted to make sure you can't even fight back in any capacity against me.
Yeah.
And that showed the true arrogance, the intelligence, as well as the strategy of Apocalypse. I'm gonna take you out before you ever have a chance to even try to mess with me.
No, I agree. I do want to quickly say, just like you, the movie didn't live up to its expectations for me, but I still think it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to mention the positives. Like I said, I think the introduction of Storm was amazing. I think the character choice for Storm was, or the casting choice for Storm was amazing too, which is Alexandra Shipp. I think she was really, really, really good as Storm. She captured the essence of Storm. Olivia Munn, again, she did a great job as Psylocke. Sophia Turner did a great job as Jean Grey. And I do, again, want to mention Evan Peters. I really do think he's a really, really good actor. The first things that I seen him in prior to X-Men was American Horror Story. And every season that I've seen him in American Horror Story, he has memorable roles. They're very different. They're very distinct, but they're very memorable. Again, and like I told you in previous podcasts, my definition of a good to great actor is somebody that can play multiple roles and make you believe that they're that role when you know that they're not. And every role that I see him in, I believe him. I believed he was Quicksilver. I believe that he was that arrogant, that cocky, that still introspective, because that's another aspect. I feel like they really captured his hesitance of wanting to declare his father versus not declare his father, versus let his father know, things of that nature. Like that, you can see in his face and his facial expressions, even in the scene with him and Mystique, at that scene with Magneto, that he really wanted to say it, and you saw that resonant, that him wrestling with the thought of, should I say that, you're my dad? Should I not? And he chooses not to. But like that, to me, those are the little things to me that capture and then to me make movies better than they are. It's like I said in First Class, that scene with the turning of the rotation. Like those are the scenes that say that to me, that goes, this makes it no longer just a comic book movie. It makes it a good movie. Because that's attention to detail of relationships. Because the stories are about relationships. Exactly.
You know that they had to give him, once again, his speed scene.
Yeah.
That's why I said again. I said one of the best.
And it was dope.
It was awesome.
So dope.
It showed his whimsical side of not taking everything so seriously, because he's super fast, eating food.
And I love the music that they choose to play for each of those scenes. It feels like it captures the moment, and it just seems like it amplifies it. It accentuates the moment even so more. And how they made everything make sense based on physics.
Yep.
If they're getting tossed at this speed, that's why he does everything either so lightly, so not lightly. He
Put
moves
things in
things just so
advance, set up so
slightly,
they can
sets up
catch
in
things.
advance. So like everything makes sense based on physics.
But with that, I love the emotion where even when he did that, like he talked to me, he was talking to Jean Grey as well as some of the other ones later on. He was like, I'm so fast, but I still wasn't fast enough to get here on time.
Exactly.
So it shows like he respects and reveres his ability, but he always had that like, I wish I could be better.
Yeah, that thirst for knowledge, like I'm not thirst for knowledge, but that thirst for perfection. He wants, and which I feel makes a perfect instinct to kind of give segue that Magneto is his father, because Magneto is a perfectionist.
From beginning to the end. That's why.
So him saying that is like, oh wow, you are really his son. You know how when people say that, yeah.
I apologize because I've been wanting to ask you this since we started this podcast. So I want to go back a little bit. I know I'm gonna digress a little bit. I want to go back to Eric or Magneto. Better.
Yes, for those who don't know, Eric is Magneto,
and the
played by Michael Fassbender. I just want to throw that out there. He's an awesome actor as well.
In every movie
I've seen him in, and he's going to be in Assassin's Creed. We'll probably talk about that. So
most definitely. The thing I want to say when you talking about great actors as well as great mutant people in this world is when they showed everything about his connection to his family. Like I loved and it was really a sad moment where he got caught. He was like, "Hey, baby, let's go. We got to get out of here. I told you we would do this." Da, 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 da. And they got his daughter, and you can like his emotional being. You can see he was distraught, where he didn't know like, should I kill you or should I let it go when he got surrounded by the police, and it showed that the utmost he has love for his kids, which goes back to that Pietro, but like. I ain't gonna lie, I was very sad that they killed his other daughter off, but it kind of does go back to the comic books where his daughter has died and it's done. It was that keychain, the necklace, like that moment was like you as a father, if you have kids, you like
that scene. I do want to touch on that because I forgot about that scene for a second, and that. Because I made a list of where I ranked this movie in the top of all the movies, and when you first said what you thought about the movie, I was like, dang, I think I might have rated this movie too high. Mm-hmm. But then thinking about those scenes, that scene, bruh, did it. That scene did it, because that hit me in my chest. I was like, woo. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I was like, dang, yo, that's cold. Like, bro, he turned himself in, cuz.
Like, he was trying to do the right thing. Like, and that doesn't happen in Magneto's world, like, often.
Yeah, that was like finding a unicorn. That moment was basically finding a unicorn for Magneto. For him to have that level of compassion
I'm just gonna go
and just say, I'm gonna just go. No violence needed. I'm going to just do this. And especially when he knew he was in the right, because they came to him for saving somebody's life. Mm-hmm. Like that scene was beautiful. And the way I'm just saying, when y'all see that scene, man,
it's a touching scene. You can
and the way he puts them, boy,
he portrays is beautiful. Where he shows like my rage. I have to kill you. This, and then
that might be my second favorite scene out of all comic book movies outside of action. Outside of action scenes where it really captures, where you're like, this literally justifies why you're going to do these actions coming on. And I know what you're going to do, but this right here justifies it, where it makes him, and that's why this movie captured, just like Days of Future Past, not Days, First Class captured why he's an anti-villain. Yeah. Not just a villain, an anti-villain. Because
I even love
you see how he has good.
Because even with his introduction to Apocalypse was kind of dope, because he's like, he's going into the metal work.
That was good too, yeah.
He's like, I can't believe y'all did this. He basically is kind of like, I saved y'all life, and I've been working here, and we've been cool, and y'all do this to me. And then all of a sudden, like Apocalypse appears, and he's just basically like, "Bro, I don't care who you are, what you here for. I'm about to kill this man." And Apocalypse did, which one thing I gave him, he gives him that look like, "Oh, that's all you want," and kills everybody. And then like that's why he's such a great actor because, Magneto made that face like, "Oh shit, okay, what are you talking about? like let me see what you saying."
And you got all that with no dialogue.
With no dialogue.
And that's what I'm saying is like that's good to great acting. Is captured by the body language, emotions, the scene, and it's also good directing. So I need to give Bryan Singer because the X-Men movies that he directed tend to be the ones that I put on the top of my list. So again, I just want to give some of the actors some credit because we always name the characters, but not the actors. We got James McAvoy as Professor X.
Awesome.
We said Michael Fassbender as Magneto. Both of them played well off of each other in all three movies. Both they have a nice chemistry between the two. You got Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique, Nicholas Hoult as Beast. Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse. I think he did a great job
portraying his look of Apocalypse.
Yeah, he did.
Who Apocalypse
and
was.
If you haven't seen this movie, A Most Violent Year, that's a really, really good movie. Bro, you should check it out. It's a gangster movie, but it's more of a more I guess psychological. Like it's psychological, but it's not. It's a really good movie. A really, really good acting. But again, I digress. You got Evan Peters as Quicksilver, Sophia Turner from Game of Thrones as Jean Grey.
Who was Kurt again? Who's Nightcrawler? Because we haven't really
Cody Smith McPhee.
He wasn't the best Nightcrawler.
Yeah, Nightcrawler felt a little short to me. Again, I do want to mention this. Lucas Till, he played Havoc. I did like how they introduced Havoc to bring in Cyclops.
But I don't like how they killed him off though, and he's probably not dead because this is the X-Men universe. He's probably in a later movie shoot a beam and come out, but they showed his development of being more because one of the things I enjoyed was showing that he's more powerful now when he destroyed Cerebro. Like he went in. Crap came out of his hand and they showed he's getting more control. But like the one thing I keep hating is they killing major monumentous characters that could have way better storylines too early. And he's one of them. I mean, if they get him and they talk about Vulcan, which is, the Summer Brothers. We got Vulcan, we got Havoc, and we got Cyclops. The three Summer Brothers. That's a whole nother storyline you can add, as well as so many more mutants. And if you keep killing them off too soon, we're going to have to keep on having these correction-based movies. And when I mean correction-based movies, like Days of Future Past was a correction movie. It was good. And
First Class was a correction movie, too.
And yeah, that's another correction movie, which they're good movies, but when you have 3 movies and then you have a movie that changes everything like that, it gets confusing. And that's one negative that everyone's always given the X-Men universe is there's so many different futures and pasts and things that are going on where you may read a comic book one day and Wolverine's alive, and then the next day he's dead, and you're not sure which universe or what timeline you're really in. And that's what I feel that's going to keep on happening if they keep on killing off major people too soon, as well as revealing things too soon, like when we talked about, the Phoenix. Because now I know they want to do a Phoenix movie. They've been luring to that for hella years, but like they already had to correct her because they did her so wrong in the other movies. So that's my fear where they're going to make it something different.
All right, I'm getting the wrap it up B from my producer. If y'all don't get that reference, y'all need to watch some Dave Chappelle. So wrap it up B. Let's jump to before we go into the movies we want to see coming up.
Right.
What would you rank this? And I'll give you some time because I thought about it and I'll go through mine so you can get some time. But the way that I would rank the comic book movies so far, and I didn't, let me see, what do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I actually have 10. I do have a top 10.
Okay.
So, First Class is my number 1.
Now, are we just doing X-Men movies?
No, any comic book movies at all. First Class is number 1. Civil War or Captain America Civil War. Let me give it its full title. Is number 2. Days of Future Past is 3. Guardians of the Galaxy. I really, really like. I don't like. I really like that movie. I felt like they introduced all the characters wonderful for a first movie. I thought it was funny. I thought it was good. I really liked the movie.
Right.
So I put that as my number 4. And to be honest, for Guardians of the Galaxy, the reason why I think it is number 4 is because I didn't know much about the Guardians of the Galaxy prior to the movie, so I didn't have any expectations. But with that, I thought it was good because again, I learned about all these new characters, which I had some understanding of, but I didn't know much about because I never read any of the comics. But just being a comic book nerd in essence, I knew enough about it that I knew what was going on before I saw the movie. Um, so Guardians of the Galaxy number 4, Apocalypse I put number 5. I put Deadpool. Apocalypse I put number 5 is again because I feel like they captured the relationships very well with Magneto, with Psylocke, with Storm, with Quicksilver and Magneto, with Magneto and Professor X. I think they did all that very well, which they similar to First Class. Deadpool is number 6. Age of Ultron is number 7. Winter Soldier is number 8. Wolverine is number 9, and Ant-Man is number 10. Ant-Man, I put number 10 is just because I thought it was funny. I can watch it over and over again. Shoot, I watched it last night, to be real. So I thought it was funny. Actually, was it last night or the night before? Recently.
That's gonna be hard because
You don't have to do 10, but just
let me
at least
do
get 5.
My top favorite, as y'all know, we talked about this before. First Class is my number 1 out of all the universe's movies. But if we go directly from there, most of my top 5 in the Marvel-esque universe will probably be in the X-Men. But besides this one is, I actually honestly truly enjoyed the very first Iron Man movie as like my number 3.
Oh wow! I
Number
would put
2,
that as my number 11.
my number 2. I know you don't agree with this. Is I absolutely love without a doubt in every capacity. Deadpool, yeah.
You put
It's
Deadpool
Deadpool's
number
my
3?
2. Like he's my
You put
number
number
2.
2?
Yeah, because what you call is my number 3? Avengers. Because
So wait. You said Iron
First
Man.
Class, we got First Class, we got Deadpool, we got Iron Man, we got Avengers, and then
So you're putting Iron Man over Days of Future Past.
yeah, I loved it though, but to me it's not in the same category enough because it's a correction movie. It's not an introduction movie to seeing everything it is. It had to correct the mistakes you've already made, and I feel if you have to correct mistakes, then that can't be the best movie yet because it's correcting something that should have been correct in the beginning. Like Days of Future Past to me, it felt like a correction, but it wasn't because to me
It's
it
an
introduced.
origin.
Yeah, it's an origin. Wolverine would probably be number 5. And mind you, all you critics out there, you know that's a quick and dry list. If y'all actually give me some time, maybe the next one, I can actually go into some of the ones I may be forgetting that I haven't seen. But most of those movies, the things I liked about them, they introduced new characters, they introduced new powers, new things into the universe that were major staples, and that were movies truer to the comic books than most. Like Deadpool itself, like even though like I said, one of his biggest fallacies, they changed his backstory, which I do hate, with extreme fallacy. But everything else about the movie was there. He broke the fourth wall consistently. He was funny. He did Deadpool. He showed the length of Deadpool, and that's why I have
That's
to
why
say
I put
that.
him at 1, 2, 3,
You put him at
4,
6.
5, 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't because he was one of my top favorite people.
Okay.
So like when I went to that movie, I wasn't disappointed about nothing about the like the only thing I told you I was disappointed about, they changed him from being part of the Weapon X project, or what it looked like part of the Weapon X project.
Okay. So moving forward, based on Apocalypse, what are you looking forward to, or what are you hoping to happen moving forward?
I'm hoping for them to kill off Wolverine and introduce X-23 in the next Wolverine movie. I love Wolverine to death, but even in the comic books, all the comic books, he's dead. So we do need to introduce the next X-23, which would be awesome, as well as that universe, or at least some concepts of that. I am still truly hoping for that Gambit, since Gambit is one of my favorite characters in that universe. I hope that Channing Tatum debate and director debate can get done. Um, I am hoping and they do a Mystique, but I hope they do a correct version of Mystique where they introduce who her kids are. So they give you the Rogue, they give you more of Nightcrawler's backstory as well as then they can introduce, this is not one
I
of
don't
her
think they're
kids,
gonna
but
do that,
Scarlet
bro.
Witch, the real Scarlet Witch.
I don't think they're gonna do that
I don't think so
because
either.
Nightcrawler they've already established,
Hmm.
and they made it clear that they both don't know each other.
Yeah, but that was true for most of all the X Men series and comic books. Nightcrawler did not know that Mystique was his mother
Yeah,
until
Nightcrawler didn't.
Halliday.
Nightcrawler didn't know, but Mystique always knew. She just
Yeah,
acted as if she didn't.
of
But she
course.
didn't even give, even acting wise, she gave no indication
But we
that
can
she
go
knew
back
him.
to that concept of we in a rich universe. She could have got her memories wiped. She got clean. I mean, one of the main
I
mutants
don't
that
know.
helps her out is another psychic that helps control Scarlet Witch. So she can technically get rid of it. I don't see that happening, but
Yeah,
they still have the ability.
I'm hoping for a Psylocke movie,
I doubt it, but I
or
would like
for
that
her to be introduced
in the universe.
more, more vividly, more strongly, more in depth. Because I really, really like Psylocke, and there's a lot known about Psylocke, but there's also a lot that's not known. To where I feel like they can create and expand and give you
More.
more, because if you don't have much established about that character, but it's a dope character,
Then yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like you can build upon that and make a unique, creative, dope storyline.
Well, I mean, if you look at the end of this movie, they introduced Mr. Sinister through the ending. So with that, I mean, I
She
feel like
teams up with Psylocke, or
he
he
uses her
Psylocke.
as a brief, but it also goes into him always trying to make the perfect human. So like I am kind of hoping they keep with Mr. Sinister because that brings the Savage Lands, that brings so much depth into this universe where a lot more could happen. So I am hoping that the next full X-Men movie, not the little spin-offs, has the main bad guy is Mr. Sinister because he's an awesome, crazy, creepy, weird mutant.
What other? So now that we kind of wrapped that up, what movies are you
Suicide
looking
Squad.
for? Yeah,
Without a doubt. No questions asked.
I'm looking forward to Suicide Squad, but I'm kind of over it, bro.
Because it's been on the radar
It's
so long.
been it's been forever. Like forever. Like I saw Suicide Squad previews before I saw Batman vs Superman, before I saw Civil War, before I saw Apocalypse, and I seen all three of those motherfucking movies already. And I saw the previews for Suicide Squad before all of them,
If
bro.
we talking about the Marvel DC comic book universe, what movie you waiting for? Thor Ragnarok or just Black Panther?
You know, nigga.
Just Black Panther.
Black Panther all the way. That's it. Like I mean, Thor. When it comes out, yeah, I'm gonna see it. But it's like it's not even. It's like I haven't seen previews for it. I know what it's somewhat about. Like I can't get juice about it because I haven't seen previews for it. So when the previews come out, and I hope they wait, because if they do what they did with Suicide Squad, you're gonna get the same ass reaction from me. Like, oh, I seen this a year later, and I still haven't seen the movie. Like, bruh, it's been forever. I saw Will Smith in freaking Deadshot's character costume for like ever. When am I gonna see the movie?
Okay.
When is the movie coming out?
What about the potential Harley Quinn getting her own individual movie?
Man, fuck that shit. I need to see Suicide Squad first. I gotta see I have to see Suicide Squad first before I can be excited about seeing any other person that's in that movie having a solo spot.
I feel it.
So we're gonna wrap it up because again I'm getting that wrap it up beat sign. So I just want to say thank you again for rocking with the Stay Woke podcast. You know, we passionate about these movies, we passionate about the podcast, we passionate about the music, man. We just really trying to give you guys a unique perspective, our perspective on all of these issues and all of these different topics, and hopefully you rock with it. If you do, please tell your friends, tell your family. We're trying to make this as big as we can, and we only could do that with your help and your support. So, subscribe, follow the Stay Woke podcast on iTunes. That helps a lot. Leave comments. On the sonicbreakdown.com, we have a donation button. If you donate, all of those funds that are in the donation page, I promise you go 100% to the website, to either maintaining the website or helping make the website better for you guys. Um, that's the purpose of the donation page, is to, we want to eventually make a video cast, you guys. So we got to buy a video camera. We want to get the best one for you guys. So donating will help get us that stuff. Um, Again, we got the reviews that are coming out on the sonicbreakdown.com under the breakdown page. We have the Stay Woke podcast, which you're listening to now. And you got the You See Me videos, which we have excellent videos up on YouTube, as well as on the sonicbreakdown.com, which you can watch on the Terrence Martin performance that he did in San Francisco. Reddy, you were at that concert as well. That was
Yep.
it was a dope concert.
It was hella fun too. I had a little too much fun.
But it was dope. Again, I do want to say, based on that concert, you should check out Rose Gold. She's a really, really good singer. She was performing there. She has a song with Terrence Martin called "Thinking About You" or "Thinking of You." I'm sorry, which we have a video of on the You See Me page. And I do want to add, I want you to, if you can, check out my boy Mark Clark. He has a SoundCloud page. He's dropping some new music. We got Universe. He's also on SoundCloud. You can check out his music. And then we got another guy, Rosie Rothschild. He has an LP that's on iTunes called "An Only Child." You should check that out as well. He has a video coming out soon. We helped support that video. So you should see the Sonic Breakdown logo in that video as well at the end. So again, thank you again for listening to the Stay Woke podcast. Check with us again. We'll have some more podcasts coming up soon. You know the motto: live, love, and above all, listen to some great music.